sip of you got. Cause you're like water when I'm thirsty, yeah. Drink, drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink, drink. Hey. It's warm down here. It's hard to breathe. It's burning my eyes, Lord. So hard to see. I'm quite parched now. I need a saying. Come quench my thirst, Lord. Because you're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. Water for the thirsty, yeah. I drink,
it's like water for the thirsty. Truthfully, our souls parched. You will find them when you seek them with your whole heart. It's so hard to stay consistent through the word I'm reading. Cause the time is coming soon when every eye gon' see him in the clouds above. This is about a love that quenches the thirst, but the world offers is not enough. Taste and see from this fountain spring, you'll be lining up to get a drink, refreshing ink flowing out of cups. This life they gotta touch, to liberate them out of cuffs. Through faith is undivided trust, created us up out of dust. He's worthy of fresh well of living water for the thirsty. Give her honor the first thing that I do when I'm waking up. It's everlasting life to all who decide to drink it
up. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Hard weekend, it left me high and dry. I've been going through the ringer. I need you in my life. Time seems crazy. I'm stranded in the desert. This life gets so hot. I need a sip of you got. Cause you're like water when I'm thirsty, yeah. Drink, drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink, drink. Hey. It's warm down here. It's hard to breathe. It's burning my eyes, Lord. So hard to see. I'm quite parched now. I need a saying. Come quench my thirst, Lord. Because you're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. Water for the thirsty, yeah. I drink,
it's like water for the thirsty. Truthfully, our souls parched. You will find them when you seek them with your whole heart. It's so hard to stay consistent through the word I'm reading. Cause the time is coming soon when every eye gon' see him in the clouds above. This is about a love that quenches the thirst, but the world offers is not enough. Taste and see from this fountain spring, you'll be lining up to get a drink, refreshing ink flowing out of cups. This life they gotta touch, you liberate them out of cuffs. Their faith is undivided trust, created us up out of dust. He's worthy of fresh well of living water for the thirsty. Give her honor the first thing that I do when I'm waking up. It's everlasting life to all who decide to drink it
You're
up.
like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Been a hard weekend, it left me high and dry. I've been going through the ringer, I need you in my life. Time seems crazy, I'm stranded in the desert. This life gets so hot, I need a sip of you, God. Cause you're like water when I'm thirsty, yeah. Drink, drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink, drink. Hey. It's warm down here. It's hard to breathe. It's burning my eyes, Lord. So hard to see. I'm quite parched now. I need a saying. Come quench my thirst, Lord, because you're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. You're like water for the thirsty. I drink, I drink. Water for the thirsty, yeah. I drink,
It's like water for the thirsty. Truthfully, our souls parched. You will find them when you seek them with your whole heart. It's so hard to stay consistent through the word I'm reading. Cause the time is coming soon when every eye gon' see him in the clouds above. This is about a love that quenches the thirst, but the world offers is not enough. Taste and see from this fountain spring, you'll be lining up to get a drink, refreshing ink flowing out of cups. This life they gotta touch, you liberate them out of cuffs. Their faith is undivided trust, created us up out of dust. He's worthy of fresh well of living water for the thirsty. Give her honor the first thing that I do when I'm waking up. It's everlasting life to all who decide to drink
you're
it up.
like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty.
Good night, everybody. Welcome to Water for the Thirsty. I'm Jared. I'm the one who facilitates the conversation. With me is our long lost. I'm kidding. With us tonight is Sharika.
You're right.
who haven't seen in a little bit, you know, but we're glad that she's back to join us on the
Still an
couch
OG.
for the last conversation for the year. And then also with us is Shonice.
Hello.
And our friend who's here every third Friday, Mr. Bradley Trammell, who is co-host with Orlando Boyd for Real Talk 101. And you have a new home, a new location. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you guys.
We moved from eLife Media Studios to Vox Power Wave Studios. It's just a different location. It's actually close to where I live, so I'm thankful for that. But the management at the other radio station, they didn't see. They weren't directly seeing the vision that we had. So the Lord blessed and gave us a whole new studio. And it's a lot of similar programming, positive messages for the community. And I believe we're the only spiritually based one on there. But the Lord is blessing, man. But
Tell us a little bit about the vision for the program.
the vision for the program is to sit down and rap about the Word of God in practical terms and making it relevant to today and everything we see today. And then comparing
Hold
testimony.
on.
He said there's no sound.
Okay, just talk a little bit.
Let's chill.
Alright. Testing 1, 2.
Sound?
Yeah.
You have sound now?
Do we have sound now?
Yes. I'm locking tomorrow. Do you?
Yeah, that's right here. So
So he's probably trying to sleep.
Alright.
He's trying to prepare for that.
Cameron don't sleep.
Hey Lorraine, can you hear us clearly? Let us know, please.
I invited a coworker to the stream too. Hopefully she's able to get on.
Vanessa, are you hearing us?
Yo.
Sorry about my feet. My feet directly. I'm not trying to play footsie with you,
What's
but
up?
Yes, she is.
She's hearing us. So, can you check the
we could
the
try
other
to
screen
get
right quick?
in trouble with the master of my household.
It's right there.
Okay. Alright. So, you don't worry about that. Can you, I'm gonna test. Yes, it's going live. Alright, cool. So it's just Vanessa. Alright, cool. Sorry, Bradley.
It's all
Can you
good.
tell us a little bit about what you're doing over at
Ready?
Real Talk 101?
Yeah, we found a new studio. The management has a vision for more positive messages and programming for the African American community primarily. I believe we're one of two. Either that or we're the only spiritually based radio show on the network right now. And again, if you go to YouTube and search Fox Power 373, all the programming will come up, and our show will be listed amongst the several programs that they have. But what we do in the program, simple, is we break down the scripture, make it plain, make it relevant to today. We equate the testimonies that we read about in the Word to personal testimonies that we have in our life, and we see how God is working through both of them.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. And I get to join in those conversations every third Sunday. And
Yes,
it's,
indeed.
it's usually good stuff. I mean, it's always good stuff. Usually it's not the right word. It's always what's up. Alright, so what we do here, Water for the Thirsty, everybody should know by now. And if you don't, and this is your first time, we're trying to get to know Jesus better. We realize that this is the most important way to do that. So together we're reading the same reading plan that you can use as well. If you download the app from our phone, I don't know if any of you noticed, but the app was having problems for the last 2 days, but we fixed it. A server got moved and they didn't tell us, and so but we caught it and we fixed it. It's a reading plan to take you through the Bible in a year, follows the story of the Bible, good stuff. And we read and we come and we talk about what we read in hopes to learn a little bit more, be better equipped for personal study, come a little bit closer to Jesus, and maybe get an inspiration to you on being in the Word for yourself. I would like to tell you that Sharika, if you can't see it on the camera there, Sharika has, after year 3, a paper Bible.
Yes.
Yeah. This thing, it inspires.
Okay.
Yeah, she was hardcore ESV on her phone, which is nothing's wrong with that. We encourage that, but through the experience, she has found it necessary on her own, with no prodding or promptings from anyone, to actually paper up, and so that's to me significant, significant thing. All right, so we're gonna dive in. And I'm going to start with Sharika because she hasn't been here for a while. And I'm going to keep saying that out loud.
Listen here. I'll be here in spirit. So, I like Job. That's the homie. And we're in Job now. What chapter are we in? I think we're in chapter 6.
8. Yeah, Job chapter 8.
8.
Yeah, we read 8 today.
Yeah, I was 7 years. I'm the day behind. And we were 8 through 10 today. Anyway. I always like Job. Only because I relate.
Can you tell them what we've read since the last... I can't say since the last time you were here.
Right.
Since the last time we met.
I was here last Saturday when the cameras are not on. FYI.
Since the last time we met, we've read...
Revelation.
No, your girl, Esther.
You read Revelation.
Yes, we did Revelation.
We did Ezra.
Nehemiah.
Malachi.
Since the last time, and Job from the last time you're here. So that's where our conversation is coming from. It's insights, questions, inspirations coming out of what stood out to us in those books from the reading plan. All right, so go ahead, Sharika. So everybody knows where we are. Job.
Right. So I'm gonna talk about Job, then I'll get into my rest of my homies later on. Cause I got a new homie. Nehemiah is my new homie.
Nehemiah. Wow.
Only because he be yoking people up and pulling their hair out and being done. So, I found a new homie. Anyway, back to Job. This time around, when I was reading Job, I was more focusing on the secondary characters and their behavior. Like, I think a lot of us pay attention to what Job's going through. But I was joking with Jared about what God was doing and what Satan's doing. And then the homies come and sit for like 7 days in just silence. And then No. The wife comes and tells him something. And he's like, Melly, go ahead. Go on with it. And the homies come and they stay for about 7 days. And eventually they start to speak. So, anyway, let's talk about it. In the beginning, I feel like God, I'm guessing this is God the Father, based on this personality, is basically having some sort of meeting of the minds. And Satan shows up on behalf of us, which has always been very interesting to me. He's like, I've been roaming to and from Earth. He's like our representative of sort. And God keeps asking him, like, what are you doing? Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he's like, what are you doing? Kind of like a kid. What are you up to? I see you doing whatever. And he's like, I'm roaming around doing what I do. But that man of yours, Job, I'm pretty sure he only serves you because you give him everything he likes. And that statement stuck because it's true for a lot of Christians. God has allowed, because I can't say he gave it, has allowed earthly gain to a lot of professed Christians, and I'm using these words very specifically, and as a result, they give the praise or the credit to God.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
You still with us, Shanice?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just was. I kind of almost felt you. I wasn't sure if I was feeling you pushing.
I'm behaving myself.
All right.
I'm
As,
behaving.
I mean, if you don't find that statement to be true, let me know.
I'm behaving.
In at least in my experience. And then when things start to, I can only imagine this conversation has happened many times. Maybe not with as much surety from God, but Satan's like, that guy Jared only hangs out with you because you gave him X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, cool. Then take X, Y, Z from him.
What's up, Trevor?
And so he takes X, Y, Z, and God just kind of sitting back like, do. Let's see what happens. I know what options are on the table, but let's see what happens. And Job, of course, passed a little test.
Do you think God gambled?
No. No. I don't think he... Not in this phase. I don't think he gambled in this phase. I think he was pretty sure that Job was okay with Job. Meaning, you could take you could take this stuff. Leave me, Job, alone. I'm okay. So round 2, Satan done mush up Job's entire life. And comes back and he's like, yeah, what are you doing, Job? Like, you didn't just see that he mashed up Job's life, and Job's like, bro, what happened? He's like, I was, messing with Job, but he's only serving you because I can't touch him. And I think that's when God gambled.
You don't think he was equally confident?
No.
Okay. How do you feel, Shanice?
At least I know Sharika. But
I think that the reason why...
Wait, did you think he gambled or he was confident? Or neither?
I don't like the word gamble.
Took a chance.
I don't like the word gamble.
Took a chance.
I think that God's relationship with Job was such that
You could say that confidently.
he was confident in Job's response not to sell him out.
Okay. Go ahead, Sharika.
That's the better way for me to.
Maybe. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. So he touches Job. Job starts to get really confused, like what's going on, type of thing. And the character comes in his wife, which is very interesting because I always wondered, how did Job and his wife meet? Like, was it one of those Isaac and Rebecca's, or was it one of, how did he get her or whatever? But she seemed to be only in for the game. Based on her response.
The wife, you mean?
Yes.
Oh. I'm trying to behave myself here.
This
That
is
was
what-
low.
what
That
I'm
was a
saying.
low. What if she loved him?
Nah,
And
but
she was just like, what? You know what we do? We obey God. We do whatever he says. We raise up our kids. We send them to school. We pay this extra stuff for these students to teach them all this, well, I guess it wasn't the Bible, the scrolls. and you didn't do anything wrong. And now you see what's happening to you?
curse God and die.
For real? I think she loved him more than she loved God.
But she
So
said,
that's so to say she's in it for the money.
but
She's just like,
said
what?
to die though.
Yes, because
I
dying.
ain't saying
Oh my
she
goodness, dying. Remember, y'all forget, dying was like sexy. That was manly back then.
No,
that was
she
like,
would
remember?
just get everything.
No, she wasn't like. He was in pain, and she's just like.
It's a one
you
thing
are
to say
holding
die.
on.
It's nothing to say curse God and die.
Yeah,
Like,
she's saying, that's what she's saying. She's saying, get him back for all he's doing for you because you're gonna die anyway. You're dying. You look like he looks like death at this point. He looks pretty jacked up, and she is suffering with him. There's nothing. Remember,
suffering, houseway.
because there's
But
nothing
she
she
gotta
can
take
do for
care of
him.
him. She can't
There's
help.
nothing she can do for him.
She gotta
So
feed
When
him.
people who are around you and they don't know what to do for you,
They
how to
suffer.
help you, they feel helpless after a
You know
while.
that.
they feel helpless. And it's like,
You're
what
not
do you want me to
suffering.
do for
You're
you?
not suffering.
It is
You're
a
saying
type of
that-
No,
suffering.
it's not suffering.
it's-
It's a level of empathy.
No,
No,
but it's not
suffering.
no,
It's
no,
suffering
not
too.
when you are in love with someone. Not when you
so
bear
say
children
nobody,
with
say
them.
nobody don't love me? Is that what we're
When
saying?
you're in love,
No, I'm asking you a question.
she sleeps when I'm not even getting stuck in that.
I'm just saying.
You're not
I'm
getting me.
simply
I've been married a
saying-
long time. You're not getting me stuck in
I'm
that.
saying, all I'm saying is, as someone who is on the receiving end,
How you know
You're
she didn't
not
help him gain all that stuff?
soft. She
How
was,
you
in
know
him
you-
shooting. She was with him shooting in the gym.
How
No,
do-
back
how
then
do
she
you-
wasn't shooting in the gym.
How do you
She
know it wasn't part of?
shooting
How do
in
you
the
know it
gym.
wasn't part of her dowry
It could have been, but she wasn't shooting
that
in the
helped
gym.
him out?
But that's still her daddy's
just
money.
saying.
That's her daddy's money.
But it's big. But it came through her.
She wasn't
Maybe.
shooting in the gym.
Listen.
You don't
Listen.
know. She might have been
Listen.
there. That's
Listen.
speculative.
It's all speculative, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
The
like, we
reason
never
why
know.
I say this is very interesting is because it's not just die, Job. Just give. It's curse
God.
God.
It's get back
and
at
die.
him because it's
Get
like,
back on. But,
yes.
But that in itself is goes back to the point of the perceived notion of Satan. He's only roaming with you because of these pleasurable things
Correct.
that you're giving
She's
him.
making the point that Satan
That
made.
Satan was making.
Yeah.
For her to
Satan-
say, "Curse, get back at him." Like what? You're not
Stop,
in it.
or stop
But-
being faithful to him. Stop holding
but
on
that's
to
like
him.
He
But
turned
that's
back on
different.
you. You turn your
But
back,
that's-
but die
but
though.
that's
Don't try to
different.
come back. Just die.
but that's
But,
different.
but if you do that bold-facedly, it held to the belief that if you do that bold-facedly, if you challenge God bold-facedly,
You won.
no,
No.
he's gonna strike you down.
He's gonna
So
kill
you're
you.
almost
You're
like you're going and
lose.
sitting in front of the train or jump off the
Yeah,
building.
Yeah.
he's committing suicide.
Yes, that's what she's suggesting he do.
Suicide.
Yes.
Spiritual and physical suicide.
Yes.
Okay. Now the whole roaming back and forth, right? Because we're like,
She jumped back.
Right?
Yeah, that's what
She had to let that. She had to let that go. She had to
no,
let
I
it
didn't let it go. My thing is, I was sitting here quietly letting her say all this stuff that I didn't.
I
fully
asked you when
agree
you
with.
disagree.
But that's why I was letting you. I was letting you unfold it.
When
Because
you
sometimes,
disagree.
sometimes when it comes round all the
Oh,
way
yeah, it
around,
makes sense.
it
Yeah.
makes
Okay.
full, and it's like
you wanna,
yes.
you wanna let her finish then?
Go ahead.
So let me just the
ahead.
whole Satan's roaming around, he chilling with you. No, he was on parole. He had to come in and say, "Hey, this is what I've been doing."
Parole.
Yeah, Satan's on parole. He was kicked out of heaven. But when God said, "What's everybody doing?" God knew what he was doing.
That was
but
my
Satan had to
point.
come. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But it wasn't like wait, why he have to say what he's doing? God's not saying what you're doing because God doesn't know. God's saying what you're doing because part of your parole is for everybody else to see tabs on what's going on with you too. And you're roaming back and forth the earth doing what? You know, so instead of and I want to make this point. Instead of Satan saying, "This is what I've been doing," he's just like, "Yo, I see a failure that you think is actually a win." He actually changed the subject off of him to finish his report on what he's doing, because all he's doing is trifling.
But here's the thing.
Wait. That's not actually correct.
That's not true.
Because he says, he just kind of deflects the question.
That's exactly what I said.
He
No.
just, no, but he
That's
doesn't.
what I said.
No, but he
He doesn't
deflects
take
the
it off
question.
of him.
But he doesn't take it off of him. He just says, you know.
Deflecting is taking it.
No,
No, no, no.
you.
He comes back to him.
No, so
He just
stay with
It's
me.
like a roundabout to
God
ask for
says,
something.
God says,
Oh,
what are
yeah.
you doing on the earth? He says, roaming to and fro.
Doing my thing.
You know, he doesn't really answer. He just, you know, vaguely.
What you doing?
But
Nothing.
God is the one who brings up Job.
Yes. Have you
Satan doesn't bring up
considered my
Job.
servant?
So all Satan does is like, I'm here. I'm just
chilling.
chilling.
Like,
That's what I mean. It's
I'm
like,
chilling.
I'm chilling.
What
And
is
he
you
said,
doing?
well, and God is the one who was like, well, in all your chilling,
Yeah.
have you considered my servant Job?
Well, you know what?
God is
Since
the one
you
who brings
mentioned
Job.
him, I did see him.
And that's when Satan says, well, since you mentioned him, I did see him. But the only reason he doing that is because, you know,
Because you
you're
gave
looking at
everything
him.
he
Not only that,
Because
you
you give
mentioned
everything he wants.
It's no big thing that Job is faithful to you.
No,
That's not a big deal.
I noticed him in my walks, and that's it.
Anybody who have what Job have will be faithful to you. That easy.
But not only that, you mentioned Satan reporting everyone wanted to know what he was up to.
No,
I
not
disagree.
everyone. No, I don't think everyone.
Well, you
I
said he
think-
had to report
I'm
back
saying
on
he
his
had to
parole.
report. He had to
No, but
report his
everybody was
parole.
reporting.
Yes,
But we knew
but we don't know who else did some jacked up stuff. We just
we the
know
only
about
ones
Satan.
that fell. We the only ones down here doing stupid stuff. Everybody else watching us like little idiots. Let's see what happens with them. We just can't see them.
Reality TV.
This is it. It's straight reality TV. This is Real Housewives of Earth.
Yeah.
This is what we are.
That's what it is.
And so, Satan is invited to the meeting of the minds. It's not like it's a one-on-one court.
No, it's like what you doing? What you doing?
Right, but
doing?
but what you said was that he wanted. It was like he needed to report to them. It's not everybody's saying, "Hey, we living good life, we chilling," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm chilling down here too." You know, like good for me right now.
His response didn't really suggest a report. Because his response wasn't detailed. It didn't provide any information. And had God not said anything, it would have been left right
it's
there.
It's kind of like when somebody asks you something, you'd be like, "Yo, why you asking me a question you know the answer to? What you doing?" Chilling. You already know what I'm doing. Like, why are you asking me what I'm doing? You know what I'm doing, God. Like, let's not play this game. That was his attitude. And God's like, all right, you're right. So what's going on with Job? You know, I saw him the other day, and he looked like he only holding you down because you giving him everything. I wasn't going to say nothing, but since you said something, like, let's talk.
I feel you.
And then he's like, all right, so bet, can I... God suggests do this stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
God is egging Satan on. He's egging him on. Satan's like, I'm just chilling. But since you want to give me something to do, I'll go do it.
I thought it was more like, oh, you think that? Prove it. And he's like, oh, you don't let me prove it because I can't do this. I can't do that.
Correct.
That's what I thought it was.
What do you mean by he can't do this or can't do
like
that?
you don't let me touch him?
He says you have to put a hedge on him, around him.
He's just like, you don't let me do it. No, they're speaking specifically about him.
Yeah.
They were specifically about him, yeah.
Yeah, they're speaking specifically about him. Because I was looking at his friends and I was just like, they seem to have it pretty together too, but we didn't see anything about them before this time. They came and traveling, but he's just talking about Job at this time.
Right.
So there's people in the earth who are actually serving God, and I can't say keeping his commandments because there's people who are actually serving God and being good examples.
Yes.
But when we said put a hedge, do we feel that's something that happens in modern times as well, where God is like, them right there, don't mess with them, leave them be?
I would say so.
You know, people say your grandmama prayed for you and all sorts of kind of stuff, and you know, you got. I mean, I know there were times when I was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, but I went there purposely. You know, I went there purposely because I thought it would be fun. And when I look back and see how certain situations that were like fun for me messed up other people's lives, I can't explain anything other than the hedge.
I just want to pull Lorraine, and she says, I noticed that the devil was allowed to attack his stuff, his achievements and possessions, etc. Then he attacks his physical body because we naturally seek to preserve ourselves and our lives. Then when those were not successful, he tried to break his spirit through his wife and friends. That sounds almost like Jesus. The last line of defense, those who you would have expected to be supportive, encouraging, and have his back. So in essence, anyone's spouse, parent, child, friend, family is very capable of leaving you at your lowest moment, which tells me that you can only trust and lean on no one but God. That's what I noticed reading this time around. It was the same with Peter and Jesus. Those who say they have your back can say and do that when it's easy times, but when problems come, you will learn. And then she apologizes for the book. Too many thoughts on her brain.
I feel like we are too hard on Job's friends. Those are riders. They were riders.
And his wife
they
too.
know better.
His wife too. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. His wife too.
Throw that
his
away.
wife.
Throw the whole wife away.
His
We don't
wife.
want that.
His wife. And wait. Was this the same? Did I mix it up? Did she die and he got remarried and they started
No,
having
it's the
kids
same
again?
chick. She the same chick.
She made all right.
10 more babies.
So
she must be was really young.
Throw the whole wife
Sorry,
away.
because the kids were grown, they were partying.
Throw the whole wife away.
I rolled my eyes.
She was young,
Consider
spring
that-
chicken.
I mean,
So-
are you gonna make 10
So
more
was he.
babies?
After you pity them growing, you started young.
But she was
12.
still with him. He looked jacked up.
Had to be.
Had to be like
He
12.
had
She boss.
he had boils on his skin. He
Lord,
had
yes.
Where's she gonna go? She can't go nowhere. She can't go
He
anywhere.
had boils on his skin.
Only place she goes back to her daddy. Her daddy gonna be like, your husband is still alive. Go right back.
He-
She can't go anywhere.
No.
She's stuck.
She's stuck.
She cannot go. You cannot defend her. It's kind of like David's wife that you tried to defend. What's her name? Michael? No.
Michael.
We know.
Michael.
The two of them together. You can't defend this one.
Yeah, don't even start on Michael. Poor thing. That
Moving
poor
along.
thing.
Go
Okay,
back,
so
go back to where you were, sorry.
Right. So, wife, we threw her away.
no,
this
we're not
wife, though.
throwing. We're not throwing her
Throwing
away.
the whole wife
She
away.
is still
Back
there.
to the homies. The homies come through.
How his homies are deep, but his wife is not.
She said, curse God, bro. She said, commit suicide spiritually and physically and be done with this.
And
Not
so-
that I'm going to do it with you,
and
though.
so
Just do
God-
your thing.
And God understood it. God understood it enough not to strike her. He understood where she came from enough not to strike her.
Wait. But he ain't struck
Or-
the homies either.
He what did he do with them?
He told Job to pray for them at the end, and told them that they didn't speak well of him and they didn't speak truly of him.
But did he say that to the wife?
No, he didn't have any comments for the wife.
I wouldn't either.
I'm saying
He
that's
threw her
what I'm
away.
saying.
She had one comment. They spoke for the whole book.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And why we giving the men a pass?
And I
Oh, they're
tell you,
going
I'm
to pass.
not-
but the wife
I'm not-
saying
I didn't
throw
even
away.
get to them.
We not giving the men a pass.
I said the homies.
There's a chick over here giving.
I said the homies.
giving
First of
her
all, it takes a lot for you to come to my house, see me at my worst, and just be like, yeah, and just sit with me for 7 days and nobody say nothing.
grief. That's awkward.
That is all.
But that's a real friend.
it's
That's a
not awkward?
friend. No, it's not. As an introvert, we just sitting there. We watching TV. We not saying nothing. We couldn't. I'm good. Vanessa could come over and we can stay for 7 days. We ain't gotta say nothing. But she here. We good. She sleep. I wake up. We
It's
sleep.
kind of
Wake
like what
up.
you said. It's like, what do you say at that point? You
Nothing.
don't-
I'm here to
you don't know what
support you.
say.
I'm here to
People
support
don't
you.
know what to say. They see you going through rough times. Like,
I'm here for
I don't
you.
even know what to tell you, bro.
But I'm
here.
here for
But isn't that awkward?
You feel helpless, just like you said. It leads to you feeling helpless. Like, man, I want to help this brother.
Because you feel like you need to say or do something, right?
Right.
And finally they did. Because they didn't have TV back then. They was just like watching stuff walk by.
That's why they're
Rather
robbing.
than TV.
That's why. That's why they're
Watching them scrape his
That's-
skin.
That's the
Yeah,
true
like-
friends. Those are the homies. Like you're just
Oh,
sitting
man.
there. You're just sitting there. Like yo.
But she
Eventually,
took care of
Job's
food
gonna
and
say
bringing
something.
them. Man,
Something's gonna be said by Job, but we're here when he decides. to
Lorraine is on Shotnice's side. She says,
Yes.
Eliphaz kept accusing him of doing wrong, but the wife never accused him of wrong, which is why she made the statement she did.
Nope.
But she probably felt he didn't deserve what
Exactly.
what was happening.
Lorraine.
And she's in mourning.
Lorraine.
Her babies died too. Her
Lorraine.
stuff got messed up too.
Yeah, she did lose.
And
10
she's
shit.
just like, hold
She
up.
was-
Her
I
whole
see this man
world came
every
crashing
day.
down too.
I see this man every day. See, it's one thing for your friends, for your homies to come from
Now she had
wherever
to
they
take care of
work
this
and
guy
come
with
sit
his
at
terminal
you.
She
illness.
ain't got no choice.
And yes, she did.
Yes, she
Remember
did.
the guy, the woman, the chick who got chopped up and sent all over the place? She could have ran back to her daddy just like
And
that.
I
lady.
just said the only place she had to go was her
but
dad.
but her daddy probably was
Just to go right
pretty chill.
on back.
You never know.
Going right
I'm
back.
just saying, let's make sure that just like we look at who has our back. When someone says something, okay, my friends and I, we have this little thing where we like, you have to erase that one and give them a credit. That's what we say. You have to erase that one, give them a credit. So you and I, you're my friend.
Not erasable, bro.
You're my friend. You're my friend, and something happens.
Right.
Something happens. I react to it because it hurt my feelings, and you're hurt too. But I react and I say something. Later on, when we think it through, you know that you have to erase it and give me a credit. You know, it's
told me to kill myself.
But Lorraine makes a good point. They were all messed up. She was supposed to encourage him in the Lord, but she didn't. They all had their faults. Let's continue on with
She's
how
like,
the
keep
story
moving.
impacted you.
Keep moving.
The homies. Who's the first homie? Eliphaz. Is he the first one to speak? I believe.
Yes, Eliphaz, the Temanite. Chapter 4.
I related with this guy the most.
So far?
So far. At least in this. No, I mean, I'm a modern day Joe in many senses. But as far as the secondary characters are concerned, he basically said what they know. As far as they know, this is the God they know. And he's like, well, 1 + 1 is 2 in all cases. Joe, we're missing something. It's not even like he said, what did you do? He said, we're missing something because do you agree with the statements that I just said? Yes, I agree. You see how things went with you.
Then what's going on?
Because I've sat and looked at you for 7 days, and I'm just
Yeah.
you can't fault him for that. That was logical thinking. Any logical friend is going to say, bro,
What you do?
Well, not
what you do. 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, this is what is true about God. You know, wicked people will suffer. Righteous people are blessed.
Right.
That's what we know about him thus far.
But
So-
but that's the same thing. What you do? Like
But it
no, okay,
becomes
it's
what
not-
you do, but
it's not-
It
he
becomes.
didn't actually
Okay,
say
I'm
that.
sorry.
He didn't.
He did.
He set the
They
stage.
say that later on.
Yeah, he
but-
said
but
that
he
the
didn't
first
actually-
thing he said
He's
was,
setting it up for only if. Okay, he didn't say what you do. He said only people who do unrighteous stuff get unrighteous treatment. That's more or less what he's saying. Because God is a righteous God.
the last thing he says is, we have examined this. So we've talked about this, and it is true. So hear it and apply it to yourself. If you agree with what I just said, put yourself in here and let me know where 1 + 1 = 3.
So that's his nice way of not.
Of saying what you do.
I'm saying
It's better
What
than
happened?
curse God and die. Like you
what
just
happened.
walk.
It's what
This
happened.
is what happened. This is what happened.
It's what happened.
Off camera, they can't see you.
You know, you should just die.
No, it's not. I sleep with you. I sleep with you.
I bet you
I
sleep-
cook for you.
I don't care.
I cook.
Why would I want you to die?
It's because I'm seeing you
Just suffer.
dead. I'm seeing you die.
I'm sorry.
I see you
I do
dead
not want
already.
you to die.
It's
You don't
it's-
see that he's gonna get better.
you see death.
Okay, your physical death, sure. There is a problem with you saying curse God. That bothers me to no end. Especially if you saying everything we
We
have
agree.
come from him.
We agree.
That part right there, you wrong. And for
We-
that, you need to go back to your daddy.
I agree. I agree that cursing God is never an option. I also see the point, and I'm saying this because
She
from a
proved
realistic
Satan's point.
from a realistic state, and that's the thing. She fell, and so we agree that she fell. But what I'm trying to say is, I understand from her viewpoint why she said what she said, what she did, why she did what she did, and even God Himself forgave her and blessed her past this. You know, because He doesn't say much to her. He rebukes the friends
Because the
He didn't
friends take up
he didn't rebuke
40
her.
chapters.
Joy, but that's my thing. But all 40 of those chapters, she's still there.
What I'm saying
Before
is,
those chapters, she was there.
When kids are being
And-
reprimanded, at least back in the day, the one who backchat, the one who got nothing, the one who has more, your licks is more. Sir, you sat here and you told this man how many days worth of foolishness? Yes, you misrepresented me, blah, 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 talk to your friends, pray for them. She made one statement.
Yeah, but they elevated God in their statements. She cursed God in her statement.
What I'm saying is, you cannot say, well, she got forgiven. And I'm saying 40 chapters are the friends, the homies sitting around chatting.
They were all forgiven.
Let's look at this.
But there's more interaction between the I don't want to say the bros, maybe there was a girl there, I don't know. But
I just saw something that I didn't notice before. In verse 3,
chapter
2, verse 3. The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There's no one like him. There's no one on earth like him. He is blameless, upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. And he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason." It's very interesting
you incited me.
that, Satan says, skin for skin, a man will give all he has for his own life, but now stretch out your hand, blah, 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 you'll curse you to his face. The Lord gave him into his hands. He got sick, he's scratching there, and the first thing that happens is his wife comes and says, "Are you still maintaining your integrity?" So she uses almost word for word the same language that God describes about his posture. So she's almost, her role here is less about not being faithful to him, but being a temptation to get him to shift his posture to make what the devil's saying is true.
Right.
So she's now an agent of Satan more than she is on her own, you know.
No.
Eliphaz is no agent.
There's no separation. When I choose to cuss him out, I'm being an agent of Satan.
Agreed.
In that moment.
I'm not saying
Yes.
different. I'm not saying any different.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is the point of the exercise
Right.
was to get Job not to maintain his integrity,
Yes.
which is what God said about it.
Yeah,
Satan
we
is saying
agree.
he's not doing it.
Right.
And now, through whatever inspiration of the wife now becomes one of the things on top of the sickness to get him into that, to nudge him in
Yes.
that direction.
I think this is the purpose of the whole trial that he's going through. Because, and I'm saying I relate to it specifically because there's a time in my life where I had to be extremely faithful to God based on what he said. And people who were closest to me were giving me counsel that was adverse to what he told me to begin with.
Right.
And I looked at them and I know that their faith is strong. I know that they love the Lord and they want to see the best for me. So I'm sitting there thinking, why would you tell me that when it's going to clearly cause me to doubt and be discouraged from what God originally told me? And the Lord's like, this is a test. It is all a test. Even the discourse between all the friends
Yes.
to Job, for all the way up to the 38th chapter when God finally speaks to him out of a whirlwind. The whole story was written down so that people who read it can see every possible angle that you might be attacked from to cause you to be discouraged and to cause you to be downtrodden, so you can see every angle and then be prepared for it. Job, we see within the first couple chapters, woe is me, I wish I wasn't born, this, that, and the third. So we see his humanity being revealed. On top of that, Satan then throws in his friends and say, you must have done this wrong, you must have done that wrong, because it is part of their culture, just like as we maintain. It's like, if you're going through something this rough, it's because you jacked up. So whatever it is, repent. But even in the middle of some of the stuff they're saying, they still talk about the goodness of the Lord.
Yes.
In the middle of what they're talking about. And that was what blew my mind out of the 10 chapters that I read. I was like, how you giving this brother this bad counsel? How you telling him all this stuff to make him think and even doubt God even more? But in the middle of it, like in chapter
They thought
5,
they were honoring God, though.
yeah, they
And I could
did. They
see
thought
how
they were
they
being
were.
righteous.
Yeah.
I
They
could
thought they
see
was
how
being
they
righteous.
were honoring God, though, because the thing is, they're saying God is perfect. He's not out to hurt you, bro.
Yeah.
So
Why is this happening?
be real. You can talk to us. We've been sitting here all day. Yo, tell us what you did, yo.
We're your friend.
We're your friend.
Right.
No judgment. Safe zone, bro. Because
Right,
God is good. That is not up for discussion.
It's you.
It's you.
It's you.
Talk to me.
It's you.
And that's why I don't understand how people give the friend such a bad rep.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, we never gave the friends bad rap.
Because and what the friends did that gives them a bad rap is they were putting words in God's mouth. They were
Yeah.
speaking for God about stuff that they had no knowledge
There's no
of.
knowledge of it.
But it
No,
also
but no, we're saying that from our viewpoint now.
No, that's
we
what
see it.
that's what God says.
Yes, but I'm
towards the
saying
end of the
we see
chapter.
it.
As
I'm
the
saying we're
friends,
seeing it.
though.
But if you're sick, and I come as your friend, I'm praying for you. I sit with you. I travel. You know, I wasn't next door.
I left my people to come. My family
You know what
I left to come
I
see
came
you.
to Journey to make sure. I'm trying to help you out, but I'm looking at you and I'm like surprised. So first of all, they shocked, you know, and then they're like, well, if God is good, this is math, like she said, it's not adding up. You know, there's nothing we can do when people feel helpless. And there's no medicine, there's no anything. They're like, listen, this is between you and God. You got to come straight with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for them to be like, this is between you and God. You have to come straight with him, because we're not here with you every day. We don't know what you've done, but we know God is
They're
good.
trying to rationalize.
You know what I mean?
You were right.
And so
they were well intentioned.
So their intentions were well, and that's a lesson to us also. Where if we don't know what's going on,
Be careful.
that we have to even in our explanation of how great God is, we have to be careful because we never know what God's doing. So if we see someone suffering and we think we have the answers, it's okay to be like, yo, I'll pray with you. I have no idea. I mean, I've had to say, and I've learned from the story to say, I have no idea And I'm a know-it-all. For you, those of you who don't
no
know.
idea what you're going
I am
for,
a
bro.
know-it-all.
Really?
But there are times when I'm just
What's
like,
up, Kevin?
listen, I have no idea what your situation, how to solve your situation. All we can do is pray. And if you need to call me to drive you somewhere or to do something, that's what I'm here for. But I don't even know what to say to you because your situation is pretty jacked up.
But you're right. They weren't well intentioned. They
don't know any better.
They didn't know any better.
I think Joe's wife spoke out of emotion too. Like it wasn't her intention to be that, I guess, abrasive in what she said. She just, like you said, out of emotion. I'm with you through all this stuff. And you still clinging on to your integrity. Go ahead and curse God. I mean, because that's a very bad state to be in, to curse God and die. You didn't question your afterlife after that. It's like,
oh no,
that was another thing. Job
they didn't believe in afterlife. They thought this was it.
oh,
Job,
like right
Job
there.
did.
Yeah, they thought
that's Job.
Job did at the beginning of the discourse. At the end of the discourse, he was looking forward to seeing his Redeemer.
Exactly.
Right.
He does mention an afterlife.
Also,
But at first he
that
didn't
was the
know.
lesson then for him.
Yes.
I guess the
He
revelation
learned
for
that.
him.
He learned that while he
learned
was
that
talking
through
to
the process.
to the talk,
But at
talking
the
to his
beginning of the
friend.
process,
He didn't have that belief.
he didn't
He
have
didn't
that knowledge.
start off that
Yeah.
way.
He didn't start off that way.
He thought it
Or
was
you-
because it's 7, and come with us to 7 when we're finding this, because he's talking about, he says 16. I despise my life. I would not. Okay, we're in Job 7:16. I despise my life. I would not live forever. Let me alone. My days have no meaning. What is a man that you make so much of him, that you give him so much attention, that you examine him every morning and test him every moment? Will you never look away from me or let me alone for an instant? If I have sinned, what have I done to you, O watcher of men? Why have you made me your target? No. Okay. To 21. Why do you not pardon my offenses and forgive my sins? For I will soon lie down in dust. You will search for me, but I will be no more.
So I'm going to read this summary so we could get back to concluding Sharika's thoughts on Job. One of the most significant advances in Job's understanding is his belief in the afterlife. At first he's skeptical, and you can see that in chapter 14, verse 7 to 17. But with time he comes to embrace the doctrine, chapter 19, verse 25 to 27. The notion of a mediator is coupled with that belief. Job at first is skeptical, as he is regarding the afterlife, even entirely negative, about a mediator who can arbitrate between him and God, chapter 9, verse 33. But as his confidence in the afterlife advances, so do his beliefs that there is a witness in heaven who will vouch for him, chapter 16, verse 19, and that his hope that he will face his Redeemer will become a reality, chapter 19, verse 25 to 27. Finally, Job's beliefs in his innocence and God's justice come together when Job asserts that if he could find God the judge, God would acquit him, chapter 23, verse 7. So yes, at first he didn't believe, and then towards the end he does. So you were talking about the secondary characters and how they impacted you, and we didn't get to unpack how it impacted you.
Where the impact came for me is in 9.
Chapter 9?
Yes. In 9:2, when he's arguing with his, I should say arguing, he's not arguing at this point. It's a discussion. This is a didactic discourse between him and his buddies. In 2, he's like, indeed, talking to Bildad, I know this is true, but how can mere mortals prove their innocence before God? Though they wished to dispute with him, they could not answer him 1 time out of 1,000. His wisdom is profound. His power is vast. Who has resisted him and come out unscathed? He moves, he keeps going on. And it was very interesting to me because even in modern day now, there is nothing, no matter how good of a life you live, you can't prove innocence to God.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Job's like, I hear what y'all are saying, and I'm telling you, I don't know what I did, and I don't think I did anything. But what you're asking me to do is to talk to God about me being innocent, and I can't do that. And so as Christians, I think a lot of times when we go to repent and we're like, okay, we're doing better, and something bad happens to us, I didn't deserve that. I'm innocent. Why'd you make this happen to me? You can't prove innocence. And I had a conversation with a friend
Hey Adam, hey Naeem,
where
or my Tony.
a couple weeks ago I was talking to Jared about it. Unfortunately, I was saying I felt like God gave her something that she didn't deserve. Good or bad. You could flip it anyway. And Jared's response to me was, actions have consequences. Good and bad. She's seeing the consequence right now. How you want to think it's good, she may see it bad. Whatever, it is what it is. But you can't dispute what God allows or doesn't allow. You cannot say, I don't deserve. You cannot say, I did this to deserve. It's life. You and him need to have a conversation through grace to be like, I am trying to work on this through your help. I don't know what I'm guilty of, but I know I'm guilty of anything. I'm guilty of anything possible. My innocence is not within me. And I was really touched by Job just sitting there and saying, I can't beat this guy. Like, this is not a courtroom where I can win. And he's still through his agony, because nobody complains more than David. But then it's Job. Job's claims the second amount. This guy is still good. It's me. But I don't know what I did to him. But I know I can't argue with him. So, what do y'all want from me? Like,
Even more confusing.
right? He's like, I don't know what I did, but I know it's a losing battle because he's just that great.
You know
But he
what's...
also says,
Sorry.
wouldn't you just forgive me? If you know I don't know, you know me. You know I don't know what I did. So can't you just forgive me?
and make it go away. And here's the tough part about this story that the intro in Sharika's Bible revealed to me, or reminded me, that through the whole process, Job is none the wiser for all that we know about his situation.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything.
Job had no idea that he was going to get better.
None.
That was not in his mindset. And he didn't know that he was part of an experiment, so to speak.
Right.
He's probably never seen anyone come back from this. This goes south.
So he has this experience, wrestles with his friends. When God finally comes in the picture, God almost tells him to...
Shoo. Who's you?
God puts him in his place,
It's the best.
and then restores him. And he's like, he does not have
Any context.
any context or background information. Which now, when I start to reflect on it, for me, and once God shows up, he's no longer asking why.
Yeah, that's right. Right after.
You know, once God shows up, he's no longer asking why. So
He's accepted.
he's not just accepting, he's trusting God and continuing to be faithful to God no matter what. Which for me is a major takeaway for all of the things that are going on in my life that may, or that are happening, good and bad. That the why isn't as important as the who.
I learned that the hard way. I don't know. Some of y'all,
Hey Lala, and I need to bring Lauren in.
some of y'all may know I always have these I had a random illness. Well, it's not random anymore. But for a while, I wasn't sure what was wrong with me. I got taken to the hospital from work. Hate hospitals. So, things were bad. And people were calling me, and they were just like, man, Shrek, you always got life hard, man. Like, you always sick, man. Man, how you living your life, man? Somebody said to me, did you lift too heavy of weights, now you hurt yourself? Or have all the thoughts you always had caused an anxiety attack? And I'm sitting there like, I do nothing. Like, had my smoothie in the morning, my avocado, my eggs. I did what I was supposed to do, and I ain't do nothing. And my mom said to me the other day, I told her, I was like, I'm trying to get up, I'm trying to read first. I used to read at night, now I'm reading in the morning. And she was like, well, what about you?
Oh, that's significant.
Right.
Is that on camera? Yeah, I'm recording
Try to
that.
read
I'm
more.
gonna cut it and use it.
And
in the morning now. That's a big. Yeah.
Go ahead.
my mom was like,
Yeah.
what about your attitude? You be getting upset. And when you get upset at God, you upset. And I was like, you're right. But I'm not cursing God anymore, asking him why. I just vex. Like, I'm allowed to be upset. God's still good, but I'm allowed to be upset at you, bro. Like, bro, for real, like, I'm tired. But you're still great. I don't know what I did. And I don't know if I did anything, but I can't allow that to shift And Job is saying here, I don't know what's wrong, but that doesn't take away from your goodness.
Exactly.
Should you do anything else to me, I'm going to my grave, and everyone's going to know that I said, you were great.
Sweet. Lorraine says, I noticed that the devil was allowed to attack his... that's something you read before. Okay. Okay, I thought this was a new comment. Alright, so cool. Well, thank you for those insights on the friends and the takeaway for you. Bradley, talk to me. You said that this was powerful for you this week, or at least impactful.
Yeah. Well,
Not necessarily Job, wherever you were.
Yeah, I got you. Definitely, the one thing I had to say about Job was definitely in chapter 5, verse 7, when Eliphaz makes a statement, yet man is born to trouble as sparks fly upward. But as for me, I would seek God, and to God I would commit my cause. That spoke to me because it's like, for a long time, well, as humans, we tend to analyze ourselves, especially when we're out of the presence of God for a certain amount of time. We don't communicate enough with Him. Analyze our ways too much to the point and be like, why can't I stop this? Or why can't I break this out? Why can't I do this or that and the third? And when he says, yet man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward, it just reminds me of the verse that says, we all born in sin and shapen in iniquity. So what's the best thing to do about this situation? It's, seek God and commit to Him your cause. So it's like, Lord, you know me. You know this is where I fall. This is where I fail. And it's kind of like, through that commitment of, I guess, whatever troubles you to God, you learn to trust Him more through that. Because if He allows you to keep dealing with it, it's like, well, look, I told you this was my issue to begin with. But He sustains you through that. And then, also what I found that He's done in my life, He started peeling other things away. And that gives more testimony to the fact, okay, you're still letting me deal with this, but you start peeling other things away. So you truly must be in control. Because I no longer have a desire, even thought, to do any of this stuff anymore. But I still mess with this. But you know me. So it's like, I can go ahead. That gives me inclination to stop self-analyzing or to stop trying to figure it out on my own. And I just found that out of those two verses. I mean, he just made it, to me, he just made it plain. And it came, and then right after verses 7 and 8, 9 through the rest of the chapter, he talks about how great God is. Even quoting the verse in 17 where he says, behold, happy is the man whom God corrects. Therefore do not despise the chastening of the Almighty. That joint right there, that verse spoke to me years ago when I didn't even read the book of Job. It was like, don't despise the chastening of the Lord. Why? It's like, happy is the man whom God corrects. Your wife, before everybody got here, took your son upstairs. He was very distraught, very upset. And as he was going up the steps, the Lord was like, you get just that upset when I don't let you do what you want to do. You start crying and whining and moaning, why can't I do it this way? But in the end, what happens? You find out that my judgment was the best. My course, it didn't look like how you wanted it to look. It didn't go the way you wanted it to go. But initially, what happened? He's upstairs asleep. Why? Because he knows mommy's counsel was best. I'm not going to fuss and fight all night long for 3 or 4 days against God. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up in the morning and be like, God knew best. And like he showed me that just when that was happening. I was like, see, like I said, at the beginning of the week, going through the week, before we have Water for Thursday, I already know. Me and Orlando both talk about it. It's like, we got Water for Thursday Friday, man. It's like, yeah, so what we going to expect this week. Hell, coming from all directions. But I really found joy this week reading through Revelation chapter 20 through 22. How this thing gonna wrap up, and how the end of sin is just gonna be so flipping absolute. Like this joint is not gonna rise a second time. When I was reading about that angel coming down from heaven who had that chain, it was gonna lay hold of the serpent and throw that joker in a pit, and he gonna be locked up for 1,000 years. Can't tempt, can't create, can't do nothing. And then when you read about I think when I used to think about the book of Revelation, it used to scare me. There's a lot of death in there. There's a lot of plagues, a lot of symbolism. You don't really know too much about what it's talking about. But even in studying this and then reading the Ellen White quotes that I have in here, I see why it's been said, we need to contemplate and think upon the things of how this thing is going to end to give us strength in these times that we live in right now. We can see all types of wildness and we can sit here and document everything. We should take, the whole show. But to know that it's going to end this way, even though we're going to have to face trouble and tribulation, God is going to be right there shielding us and protecting us from it all. The saints, the people who develop a love for the truth and a love for His word, man. And that to me definitely brought souls to my mind at the end of the week. And I'm just trying to find this verse that I had a question about.
While you're looking, Lauren said, things happen to you sometimes not because of you, but sometimes for someone else's benefit. We are the vessels being used to draw all men to Him if we remain faithful. You know what's the hard part of that statement, Sinella?
I don't like it.
Job does not know about Sharika.
I don't like it.
He never came to understand how his experience has impacted her some thousands of years later.
I don't like it.
And so to know that my experience and my response to an experience is by design or can be by design for somebody I may never see is not necessarily encouraging.
It's not.
And if I could hear, hey, you know, you what you did, bless me. But to just have lived it and think that, you know, that was
That
it.
don't even help.
And then Job dies. Listen, Job dies at a ripe old age of 125, right? And he thinks that's the end of his life. That was it. He still has no knowledge of how this story has benefited anybody.
I would say, in answer to what you said, we all do not like it. But I think we get to the point where we're so flipping grateful to the Lord for sustaining us through our own mess that if we can be used to help someone else in any shape or form, whether it has to be through our pain and suffering or not. When it's brought upon me, like when we do a show and I'm transparent about an area in my life where I told God in His face, He ain't getting this out of me. And He looked at me, He was like, okay. And then He brings me to the point now where I'm comfortable speaking about it. Why? Because it ain't about me no more. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about my own soul. You know why? Because I trust Him that He has. That's why Paul said, I'd rather glory in my infirmities that the power of Christ may rest upon me. It's like, I feel that way. It's like, yeah, He got me. You can't condemn me. It's like taking ammunition out of the devil's gun. He's going to sit there and accuse me all day long. But if I put it out there first and say, God's got me for it, then what you going to say now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, sounds really bad. Sorry if I offend anybody who I say this.
I'm worried.
Holding the torch of being a blessing to someone else is a heavy burden to carry.
Alone.
Even with God. Because, and this is why I tell people, don't take me as your mentor. I'm a bad example. Even when you think, God, I get it. I gotta go through this for Kima, Keisha, and Pam.
Exactly.
All the babies.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. Because they need it.
They do. Kima, Keisha, and Pam need it.
They need it.
You still, I guess I'm not at the point where I can be like, I'm 90% cool with it. But I'm just like, yo, Shanice can carry some of it too. That sounds bad, but she can take some too. You know, and especially when it's hit after hit after hit. It's just like, man, bro, I know you're shaping me through this, but if one more person tell me if they were me, they would be on drugs, I'm going to smack them.
Yeah. Can you imagine Job sitting there with the scraping and his friends there for 7 days and you're looking up and like, how come it's just me?
Right, like,
What?
this.
It had to go through his mind.
Like,
Just me. Nothing happened to my... I mean, mature and dead, yes, but...
at one point, he even asked them, can y'all just leave me be? Like,
Yeah, leave me alone.
just leave me be, because y'all ain't got nothing, so
I'm
let me
with
just
it.
be.
To be selected, to be special like that.
It's hard.
Yes,
It's hard.
It's indeed challenging.
You gotta come to terms with it, because it's just like, hopefully yours is short, but Job's is long.
You have to be such
And
a
that's
balancing
why-
act, Lorraine says. But the things that happen are not always bad. They are also good. God uses all of it. It's a hard pill to swallow.
It is.
Yeah, and that's why I also say be patient with the support group. You know, be patient with the people who are trying to love you through it, because if you're messed up and they have no clue of what God is doing either, and they know His character, we have to give people passes when they say things that really are useless.
Man.
You know?
No, I'm speaking on a testimony.
Yes, that's
man.
right.
Like
I'm saying,
I've
you have
left conversations where I'm going back inside. It's like, why did you even let me have that
Right,
conversation?
exactly.
Because now stuff is more complicated.
So
and
waste.
that's what I'm
Waste.
saying. Because what happens when you go through pain, like I admit as a mom at times I'm just like, son, I don't know. I'm sorry. I think if I tell you the stuff that's in my head, I'm just gonna make it worse. So all I can say is I know this, and you have to pray for it. I can pray for you, and I'm even careful how I pray, because as someone who loves someone who's going through something, also, you want to help fix it.
Mm-hmm. Like Peter and
You
Jesus.
know, you want to help fix it immediately, and when you feel helpless, sometimes you make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't know exactly what God's doing, and most of us don't know exactly what God's doing, we speak into existence foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very nice way of me saying that, you know.
Very
But not. But we're put on this earth together, and so don't shut people out because they said something stupid.
Right.
You know, try to understand that's because they were stupid. They had no idea what's going on either. And they're trying to make you feel better. And it's okay to say to people, you don't know what you're talking about. Let's just be, this is what I need for you to do.
Oh,
I
get me
need you,
behind me, Satan.
I need you to,
That's bold.
well, Christ knew what was going on. So he knew he was wrong.
Right.
We don't know if people are wrong or right.
But
And
sometimes
that's
we do
part
know.
of
Sometimes we do know.
Sometimes we
And
do.
that's-
Sometimes we do know that you're wrong, bro.
And so sometimes it's just like, listen, this is what I need from you.
Not today, Satan.
I need for you to
Shut
cook
up.
me something, or I need for you to sit here with me and watch these birds in this tree. You know, because they didn't have TV. You know, but that, or you know, can you get me some more water? Can you get me a different scraping tool because this one? you know what I mean. But I mean, it can be anything. But we also have to know how to express ourselves and tell people what we want or what we need, or to say, I don't know what I need, but what you're doing is not helping. And I don't want to kick you out completely. And Joe eventually was like, yeah, I gotta leave. You know, yeah, I gotta leave because we going back and forth, and this is not helping my spirit. But be patient with each other.
Right.
You know, God put us here to help each other out, and this was God himself and Satan himself
Duking it out.
in this situation. And so Job was actually, all he could do was sit back and let it happen. He didn't have a choice in the matter. And so when people are going through things, on one end, when people are going through things, when someone else is going through it, we have to do our best not to overstep or overspeak. Just love them the way they need to be loved. And when people are trying to help us, we need to do two things. One, we need to forgive them for foolishness. And two, we need to express what we do need and what we don't need.
Right. Bradley, did we interrupt you?
What? Yeah, I think the one verse another verse that stood out, not just the one, was Revelation 21 verse 7, and it says, "He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son." And the reason why that spoke to me is because when I read that, John, I think my mind was in the position of like, you know, I believe I can overcome by the power of God. But what in the world does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is overcome? So I looked it up. And overcome means to succeed in dealing with something.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, when I read that, I was like, okay, so I have to succeed in dealing with this, which means I'm going to be dealing with this for as long as God has me deal with it. So if I can deal with it by myself, then being able to overcome through the blood of the Lamb means I cannot overcome or deal with this by myself.
Right.
So that means you're going to help me deal with this thing. That means I got to be in here with my problem until my job is not to give up. That's
Right.
what it is. Do not give up on me. I will help you deal with this thing to the point of your success. But what you have to do is continue to fight, which is the reason why people say, you know, you fight the good fight. And so that gave me a bit of hope this week to overcome something. And then he got the greatest reward after that. I will be his God and he should be my son. And I mean, I look at Jesus. Jesus overcame everything in the flesh. Overcame. He dealt with what we deal with and he succeeded.
So the key to overcoming, the key to victory, being victorious, is perseverance.
Perseverance. Absolutely, I like that. Yeah.
Sweet. So Nisa, I'm gonna skip ahead of you right quick, and and I'm gonna share something that was exciting to me this week from that book I was reading, the Revelation of Jesus Christ by Ranko Stefanovic. It was like a exposition of the stuff in Revelation, because sometimes when you facilitate these conversations, people ask you questions and you don't know the answers, so you got to read up to see what other people are saying and then see if they're making sense or not. But one of the things that he talked about was from Revelation chapter 12, because that's the section I was reading, because that's what I was interested in, the woman and the dragon, and I had questions because the timeline seemed off, anyway, I was reading about all that. And what stood out to me was his statement on verse 6. I never really noticed before, or paid attention before, but verse 6 says, "The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1260 days." Most times in all the conversations I have, the emphasis is on the 1260 days and the significance of the number. But to me, what was significant was that the wilderness was a dry, hot, difficult, uncomfortable place prepared by God to protect the woman.
Oh yeah.
And that made me do some all kind of shouting.
Yeah, I got you on that.
Because it's the wilderness, the awkward situation.
Oh yeah, that's what I got from it. Yeah.
And then having read that alongside Job and having the background knowledge that Job doesn't have about God trying to take care. God had a hedge around Job. He did remove the hedge, so Job entered a wilderness of some sort, but God was still taking care of him. And one of the lines that stood out to me, and I tried to share with people, but they kind of look at me weird when I say these kinds of things. Maybe because it's cryptic, or maybe because it needs explanation. I don't know.
It's not for everybody.
Maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe that's what it is. But let me see if I can find it right quick. Yeah, these are the words that the man uses. He says, to the Jewish people, the wilderness, who would have read this, spoke of divine provision and intimate fellowship. So if you think about the children of Israel being taken out of the slavery of Egypt and being led where?
To the wilderness.
And in the wilderness it was hot, it was dry, there was no water, there was no toilet, there was no food, there was no place to plant crops, there was no grocery stores to buy food. There was nothing in the wilderness.
Marketplace.
Yes, that is the place where God led them to escape, to keep them safe. But he also wanted to get to know them. And it was in the wilderness he intended for them to have intimate fellowship with him. And it was in the wilderness that he provided for them. They had food the whole time they were in the wilderness. They didn't have to, their shoes didn't wear out, their clothes didn't wear out, the same shoes they left Egypt with, they had in the wilderness. And it lasts through the whole thing.
They died with them shoes.
So you have God caring for you in this space that if you look at it would think, why didn't you just take me to an oasis? By an oasis would have been a better spot. But no, he's thinking, this wilderness is the safe place for you. This wilderness is the... Anyway, he goes on to say, John portrays God's people as cared for and nourished spiritually by God during the time of the wilderness hardship and the severe oppression that they experience in the world. God's care of the woman in the wilderness is evidently intended to ensure the suffering Christian that no matter how fierce the trials they may be called upon to bear, he is watching over the church and will sustain them. God's people, although banished to the wilderness, dressed in sackcloth, oppressed and persecuted, are surviving under the protection of God and bearing their faithful witness for Christ and the gospel. And I think about Job in his wilderness and thinking, man, how much or how does it change my understanding of God's love for me that the wilderness is where he keeps me safe? How does it adjust my perspective of what's happening around me to know that the wilderness, and you think about wilderness, you just don't really think about it, but think about what a wilderness is.
That's nothing.
But then you said the best part about it, he wants to get to know you in the wilderness. Because if he left you where you were, you'd be so distracted by everything else going on.
It's true. It's true.
So now when you're in the wilderness, you're struggling with something, you have to turn your face toward him because you're not in the situation that you were. But there was everything else that you could turn to. And I kind of look at that in thankfulness of where I was based on my testimony, where I was deep in the world, and the Lord took me out of that. But now there is no desire to go back to that, even though there are petitions and invitations to do so. I'm like, I don't want to. I can't do that no more. Something has changed. Something is different. Like, I know God now. Like, he talks to me, he raps to me, because I got that relationship. He's like, what you want to go back to that for? You just kicking with me.
It's such an awesome change in perspective on what's important.
On what's important, priority.
Or what God's priority is.
Yeah.
And if I have an appreciation for his priority, divine provision, so that you'll rely on me. Why he doesn't take all of the things, so that you have to rely on him.
Yeah.
And intimacy, intimate fellowship. That this place is the best conducive for. And the fact that the Bible says that God prepared for the woman.
I don't like it.
I like that one.
I don't like it.
As a place to keep her safe from the enemy. Man, and I'm okay with going to the
Lies. You're not okay with it.
Matthew chapter 4, Luke chapter 4 have Jesus being led into the wilderness by the Spirit.
Yeah.
Jared, you cannot say you're okay with it.
I am okay with it now. I am
You
okay with
accept
it now.
You accept me?
It's exciting.
But no, Jared, listen.
It's
I
exciting
don't
to
mind
know that's how
coming
much he
over
cares
here
to
and
me.
sitting on the couch with you for 7 days. But don't be inviting no wilderness over here, okay? Don't be inviting no. We gonna come and sit, but don't be inviting no wilderness. And wife ain't in no position for no wilderness. Okay, just putting that out.
Yeah, she riding.
She riding. She'll be right on the couch too. Not saying nothing. Just chilling.
The wilderness is the safe space.
I don't
I don't
know.
know if we can willfully just go. He has to lead us there, right?
Yeah, he's leading us.
No, what I'm saying
We going where
he's
he's
saying
leading.
he's excited
About the
wilderness.
No, I'm excited
about the revelation of the wilderness.
Yes.
That's what he's excited
I'm excited about my understanding of the experience
Yeah.
now.
And what I'm saying is you can't be excited about the wilderness itself, though.
No, I'm not excited about it.
Nobody likes that.
I just want to make sure that was where we
Because day to day you're trying to find water. You never know when you're going to find water. There's no water in the wilderness.
I mean, there was always water when you needed it, but it's not when you want it.
Oh man.
But there's just it
You
creates a
go off that.
reliance on him.
You go over a lot of stuff that you want it right then and there, but it's not there. But when you need it,
It's there.
there it is.
You won't die.
You won't die. Exactly. You ain't gonna die. It's uncomfortable, but it's purification
You
of your
won't die.
character.
So
Fit it.
I'm a Walking Dead fan, right? And
Okay.
don't hate, don't judge.
I won't. I got my stuff. too.
I have to sit and explain it to you, but it made the kingdom come alive in all kinds of ways. But that's neither here nor there. One of the things that the show did, it helped me say, well, because of Walking Dead, I've come up with this phrase. Whether a thing is a fortress or a prison depends on your perspective. Whether a space is a fortress or a prison depends on your perspective.
That sounds cute, but it also depends on who put you there.
No.
You
No.
know?
Because a prison could be a safe place because it keeps stuff out. Right? But that same space that's keeping stuff out
Keeping you in.
is also keeping you in. And so it's a perspective as to whether it's a fortress or a prison.
Ah, I got you.
And so the wilderness.
It's just uncomfortable, man. It's designed to be that way, man. It's
Wait,
desi-
that's what I'm saying. Oh,
purification, the process of purification. He said, he will refine them with a refiner's fire. You know what I'm saying?
hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. It's not gonna be. We ain't gonna never like the wilderness experience, but it's necessary.
Lorraine says you would beg for the wilderness if you ran into the dragon on your own.
I don't know.
Shanice, talk to me. What stood out to you? Since-
Okay,
You
so
go back to the homie? Is that
I'm going back to Nehemiah.
Nehemiah.
Flip tables, pull people
Okay,
hair out.
so I'm going to Nehemiah,
That dude.
and I'm in Nehemiah because I was with my I think this is a couple weeks ago drug group, and we were gonna read something else. And I was like, let's do Nehemiah. Let's do Nehemiah because one of the things that encouraged me, I had a really bad day last week.
I'm guessing
Not this
it's
past week, the week before, and reading Nehemiah.
Where we at?
and
Six.
We're in Nehemiah 6. We're in Nehemiah 6. And man, Nehemiah went through trying to finish up this wall, right?
Man, that's what
And now we went through different stages in this wall with the whole place. God sent different men at different times to come do different things to make sure that everything's rebuilt, right? So now Nehemiah has the last leg, and here comes somebody else. What you doing? Why you doing it? You're not supposed to be there, you know. and they just kept trying to distract him. They were lying to him. They got a guy from the church. And was he lame? Lame guy from the church trying to get him to just come and sit in the church and chill and like I don't know if he wanted him to like fast and pray and wait or what.
No, you wanted him to hide out.
I'm just like, what could you possibly do? This is just like the perspectives of different people coming at you from different ways. Even going to church at the time that he was supposed to be finishing his wall would have been a distraction. And when you look at,
it was a little bit more than that.
when you look
The
at
section
this,
of the temple he wanted him to go and hide in. He wasn't allowed to be there.
yeah, he was supposed to be
and
there.
so it would have put him in disrepute.
Yes, with God, but I'm just
Not just disrepute with God. It would have sullied his reputation as a man of God because he would have violated the rules of the temple.
Yes. Okay. But just the simple notion that I got from this that was so helpful was that all these people who had it out for Nehemiah, who were trying to distract him, who was trying to stop him from doing the war, it's just like, yo, mind your business. What do you have to gain or lose from this situation that's so great that you're trying to throw pauses in what God told him to do? And it was so encouraging for me because Nehemiah knew what he was supposed to be doing so clearly that he was able to ignore distractions. When I pray for parents in the morning who are leaving their children, I say the brief prayer I have for the parents is that they are able to accomplish what they're supposed to and ignore distractions. Because distractions, and it's an issue I have because I get distracted easily even by great things. You know, you're not going to distract me with a whole bunch of foolishness too much. You're going to distract me with something that seems worthy, right? You know, come over here and let me help out this poor woman who needs her kids. They need some help and they need some food. They need some this and they need some that. And you're like, yeah, that's a good cause. Mm-hmm. But you know you're supposed to finish something up for God now. And God made it clear to you. And for you to be like, yeah, that sounds cool, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, you want me to come hang out with you? I don't have time for that. I need to finish this wall. Throughout all the people who hated on Nehemiah, who had no real reason to distract him, he got it done. And a lot of times we give excuses for not getting done what God told us to get done because we blame it on he said this, she said that, they did this, they wrote this letter to so and so telling me, and he was just like, I'm not concerned with any of that. I'm supposed to finish this wall. I'm gonna finish this wall. They asked me to come down there and have a meeting with them so we could discuss some stuff. I don't need to discuss anything. I don't need to have a meeting with them. This guy over here telling me, oh, let's go into church and do this. No, I'm going to get it done. And Nehemiah was responsible for the completion of the wall.
Mm.
And so when everything is coming at you from different ways, perspectives, even those that seem legal and so forth, if you're supposed to do something, God says do something, get it done. We shouldn't have so many excuses as to why we're not getting done what we're supposed to. And Nehemiah is a prime example of that, where every so often he got a little confused. Am I supposed to do this? And before he took a step in the wrong direction, he would pray about it, and he'd be like, and God will reveal to him, that guy right there is trifling. And he would stay on course. This life has so many challenges, but when God gives you a directive, stay on course.
Word. Sharika, coming back around to you. Any other thoughts from your homie?
I mean, Shawnee's make the homie seem like he wasn't an OG. The one thing I liked about Nehemiah,
That he wasn't
right, he's OG. And I say that because while he stayed the course, he also understood where they were coming from.
Yes.
So, like,
yes.
the deceivers, cool, whatever. But these people have but they've been defeated. Their whole security system has been shut down. They're open, wide open, and discouraged that it hasn't even crossed their mind to rebuild this thing. It's just like, yo, God done with us anyway. Yo, we just gonna chill out here. Like, if you gonna come get us, it is what it is. Not really realizing that without the wall, they were okay. And that's very interesting to me, because a lot of times we like our coverings, we like our real security systems, and then they break, and you're still alright. God's still over there. Y'all still a nation that's bruised but not broken. And while they come with their excuses like, yo, I don't have time, I bet. Nehemiah's like, alright, bet. You ain't got no time? Alright, make time for that, but split the family up. 2 of y'all come do this, and y'all go watch the kids. Oh, y'all scared? Alright, one of y'all hold this M16, and the other one's gonna build. Alright, hold the knife in your left hand, and build this thing with their right hand. He's understanding their concerns and not making it seem like they're making this up.
Yeah. Yes.
You have valid reasons why you don't want to do this. Compromise with me, shall we? Like, he even put the women to work, which was very interesting, because a lot of times you don't see women being, not that they weren't, but the Bible doesn't mention them being a part of the build or part of the plan. And he's like, yeah, throw them in there too. Everybody do his part, and I'm here to motivate you. He's like, I don't know if y'all ever worked out with John Wood. He's like, oh, I understand that hurt, yo. But one more. Like, just one more before we go to sleep. One more. I understand you're scared. Just one more. And, he gives them a level of motivation where he's like, I'm building with this thing with you too. I left the comfort of the king's palace to come be with y'all and risk my life just the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not up there looking down saying build this thing. I'm down here building with y'all. Yeah, at least y'all can do is try. And that to me was like, yo man, that dude's an OG. And then when he went back home, came back and he was like, what level of foolishness is going on in here? I left y'all good.
Yeah.
Like, y'all was set. You got people moving into the temple. You got all kind of level of stuff. Where did you pick this up from? And it reminds me of us, where it's like, God breaks you down. He shows you to rebuild the wall. And not to say, I don't mean this literally that he leaves you. He said, I'm gonna go deal with Shonice real quick. I'm gonna be right back. And he comes, what happened?
all you had to do was finish.
You had one job, bro. just maintain what I gave you. And they're just like, what are you talking about?
But what happened was,
right, you ain't mentioned this, and this.
Mm.
And then that's when he got real gully. People don't use that word anymore, do they? No. He got real gangster and started putting them in their place and saying, yo, y'all can't live like this. But I definitely admire Nehemiah in a different mindset now, because kind of like Moses, he's like, I'm here with y'all. Like, you think this wilderness is fun for me? You think I don't like being in the palace? Yeah, I'm a servant, but I'm pretty good in there. Like, I don't have to worry about this stuff. Ain't nobody coming in the palace, bro. Like, we're good in here.
Like he had a private stash and water and stuff to himself.
Right. But I'm here with y'all. Just work with me. And that's, back to us and Jesus. I can only imagine when, he was down here like, I'm here with y'all. Just work with me. Like, just put it, I'm not up there anymore. I'm here. Just work with me. Like, I get it. You're scared.
Yeah.
And so I like Nehemiah for that. I respect him on a different level for that.
one of the things that stood out to me was when they were reading the law. I think they did it twice.
They had to stand up and wait the whole darn time.
Yeah, chapter
8.
Yeah.
Ezra reads law.
Yeah, I think they did it a second time. But one of the things that stood out to me is that the first thing was that they were out there for almost 6 hours. Verse 3, Ezra chapter 8, verse 3. They were out there for 6 hours listening to somebody read a book. But later on you see that there were people who were translating and explaining. So down in verse 7, they were instructing the people in the law and reading it. So that was the first thing. Because I think about, when I go to church and how long we want to stay in the Word, and how quickly we get bored. And I'm wondering how we would have survived doing that for 6 days, for 3 hours. And they did that verse 18, day after day, from the first day to the last. Ezra read from the book of the law, and they celebrated for 7 days. So it was several days of being just in the Word.
Right.
But then the second thing that stood out to me, and I don't think it was here, maybe it's written somewhere else, but they brought the men, the women, and the children who were able to understand. And so I'm gonna have to find where it is, because I don't think maybe it was in, but yeah, it was 10. It was 10. The rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the musicians, the temple servants, and all who separated themselves for the sake of the law, together with their wives and all their sons and daughters who were able to understand. Oh, that was something else.
That wasn't that long.
But I remember there was a place where even the kids came out, and it stood out to me because sometimes I find that kids are pushing the kids on the side, and they're never really a part of the process. We always standing up, exclusive. And this is not to say that there aren't times when context appropriate, activities, sessions need to happen. But there are also times when everybody needs to be a part of reading the Word together. And I like that this was done in this story. I think it was Ezra where it was said, but it was in Nehemiah.
I remember that.
Yeah, but anyway, that was one of the things that stood out to me. Like, before we skipped out on Nehemiah, I wanted to bring it up.
My favorite verse of the whole time, the whole thing, the whole thing. It's when Nehemiah comes back and he's reprimanding these people. And he starts with 26. And he gets to 27. When he goes 25, 26, and 27. Chapter 13. And these guys are marrying these women outside of their religion and culture.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, was it not because of these marriages that Solomon, the king of Israel, sinned? Like, and they were like, among many nations there was no king like him. He was loved by God. God made him king over all Israel. And even he was led into sin by these foreign women. And I laughed because he's like, yo, y'all. Huh?
He said they were powerful.
Not only that, I mean, I said to Jared that day, clearly I haven't tapped into my powers yet. But he's basically saying to the wisest man that has ever lived fell. You're not that smart. Like, just
just chill.
Just chill. They will turn you into something that you ain't ready for, man. Just let that go. Find amongst ours. It look good, but don't do it. Like, it's just, he had to bring him there, and I was dying of laughter. He's like, yo, even him? What makes y'all think this gonna work for y'all? Mm-hmm. Y'all know the story? You know, so that was funny. And then we went into my favorite chick.
The chick?
My chick.
Bradley, any other thing that stood out to you this week?
Let me confirm something. Make sure I just did it right. Back in Revelation, talking about the woman who sat upon the beast. And since she's a woman through prophecy, a woman represents the church. So the woman who is clothed in white represents the pure church from God, and the one who is dressed in scarlet is the apostate church.
Which chapter are you in?
Trying to make sure
Chapter
I find
17?
that. Yeah, that's what it is. 17. And actually, it's 18 that I was thinking about. I was like, all right, so when the Scarlet Woman is brought to nothing, which is pretty much the fall of Babylon the Great, it's talking about how all the other kingdoms and the nations and the traders are going to be in mourning because she fell, but they're going to be mourning at a distance. Mm-hmm. Not wishing that they, should partake anything that she went through, but that's going to happen. And I was like, when I was looking at it, you think about the apostate church and what that is, what I believe it to be, Catholicism, whatever. And I think about how I've traveled to other countries where Catholicism is the reigning religion in that country, and I see how people, they put everything into it. They consider Catholic, they have a reverence for it that is far beyond, I think, the reverence that I have for Adventism. And it put me to shame when I saw it. And I'm like, it's a vicious type deception for all these people to have so much trust in this religion, and then for it to come crumbling down at that point, even though it's prophesied, but they don't know about it. It's like, it's a perfect way. Just like God has everything in the palm of his hand, he's orchestrating everything. At this point, when people see that, their belief in God or a higher power that they should be worshiping is going to be completely destroyed at that point. And that's my question. It's like, I guess, what is the state of the people who were worshiping the woman as it was, and then they got torn down? Like the woman, when she was torn down, it's like, what is the state of the people at that point? I hope I'm not being confused about this, but that was where my question was. Like, what is the state of the people who are looking at what happened to the Scarlet Woman from a distance? Like, what is the state of them after that transpires? Like, what happens? I know they're the ones who are not, not on the Lord's side, because they're the ones who worshipped and went after, the beast and followed after them.
That's a good question.
Are you asking those who are worshiping from afar, or those who are in Babylon?
Right.
Which one?
The ones who were worshiping from afar were the ones in Babylon, correct?
what I mean is, well, while I'm not, this is, what time is it? Vanessa gonna kill me. 45 minutes.
Oh.
I'm not convinced.
What time is it?
8, 9,
It's time to start closing up. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that the Catholic Church, from a religious standpoint, is battling or is the apostate church. I'm convinced. I more see from a political power, because when I think about back then, there was twofold. It was a political power and it was a church, and that was one of the reasons why it was so strong, because it had a stronghold of a church and state.
Right.
Rome was like, I have both sides of you.
Right.
In my experience, I have seen and have interacted with many Catholics who shun the politics and stick to the
Adhere
religion.
religion.
And so when I read this and I know what is written in our prophecy, I'm like, there are two sides of that coin, per se. So, like, let's say the political side. Those people, I believe, will be the ones that are like, yeah, you just killed off the, fight time, because the head is done, we fight and we die with the head, and that makes sense. But then I'm wondering about those who are on the religious side, where they understand the hierarchy. So many, in my experience, see the priesthood and the pope, but understand the higher power. And so if that's taken down, they're not necessarily wrestled. It could be whatever you had with God, he decided to dethrone you. So he's still God. So
He's still God, right. They have something deeper to latch on to, rather than people who are just looking at it from surface value.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. There's two sides of that coin.
Right.
So I don't know.
Even with the powers who are trading and being made wealthy through their association, through the fornication and the corruption that she's spreading everywhere, I think that's probably the people you're talking about. They're just in it, because they're being made great through this
Exactly.
power. Whereas the people who are in religious, like, okay, this is gone, but there's still God over everything. So
I'm leery of, at least as far as the women are concerned, to narrow it down to any kind of specific
religion.
institution,
Right.
because it's a contrast of women, the pure bride of Christ versus the harlot prostitute.
So it's broader than that.
Right.
It's broader than just one.
Institution.
Right.
It's two different types of people who are claiming both to be.
Right.
Yes, right. Of sorts.
Yeah.
They're
Right?
both claiming to have truth.
Yeah, it's and if you think about, because John is pulling all these allusions to stuff that's happening in the Old Testament, God considered his own people, to be acting like the harlot, like the woman on the thing, because they corrupted their truth with, they were, fornicating with this other thing. And so there's this contrast of, I would even say, like two groups of people. It's two groups of people: those who are being faithful and are part of the bride, and those who are fornicating and riding on the beast.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But they're fornicating while riding on the back of
Riding
it.
on the back of the beast.
But and that's why I said I gotta separate them, because a lot of Stark Adventists don't want to hear it, but there are God-fearing people in that Catholic Church who are ahead of me in the line to heaven, and so the institution gets a bad name. But if you think of what Rome was and how that was built, I can understand the illustration of using it and it being the figure that we go towards, because it was an empire that sat on both sides of the fence. Like, it's one of the reasons why now we try to separate church and state. If you get both of those going, life gets very interesting. So,
And then the woman is sitting on the beast. The beast is the political power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the woman is benefiting from the political power.
Exactly.
And that's why I said it wouldn't be an institution. It would be representative of people who are, riding on the back
Benefiting from the backs.
on
And
the
at
back
that
of the whatever that political institution is.
And at that time, the shoe fit that institution.
Well, it might have fit the institution for the beast, but it may not have fit the institution for the woman. That's why I want to make the distinction. There's a woman on the beast on the is it on the water, on many waters? Right. So it's a group of people within a political context that is covering a whole rack of people, because the waters are people. You understand?
Yeah.
The waters are people.
Waters are people.
The beast is the institution, and then there's this woman
Who's taken on top.
who's adulterous woman,
Right.
which is a symbol of an apostate religious belief of sorts. And I'm not sure that it's one institution, but more all the people who subscribe, who are participating
It'd be
in,
easy,
who are
it'd be easy to
participating in
corrupt
that,
everybody else if it were more than just one institution.
Correct.
That
And
would
I
make
think,
sense.
and also,
or will be representative.
Yeah.
we like to give.
Yes, Chris says. In this context, there's a broader contrast of the faithful followers of Christ versus those who rejected. And that's why I'm saying why there's this contrast. There's this contrast between the adulterous woman and the faithful followers of Christ in the bride, the pure bride, the one who didn't, fornicate.
I think what also, because of our misunderstandings, the word I'm going to use, because when I went to Catholic school, I made it my point to sit with this priest and understand, what's all this about, man? Because meat brain, do you think this is not how this... And we would have very open intellectual conversations. And I think there's a misunderstanding of a lot of what goes on there to believe that many, and some do, that there's an idolization of that position. But we forget, we can make our own idolization
We can.
and make that position there, which is why it's not just one institution. It's you put something there
Something, someone.
While claiming
while
to be...
claiming to be a part of that thing,
Yes.
and now you're here with it.
Mhm. So it's those people versus these people. And they're people from everywhere who are part of the woman and the beast.
Right.
Yes.
And
yes.
people from everywhere that are part of the woman,
Right.
the bride.
So when the water split, everybody there's a little bit of everybody over here and a little bit of everybody over here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
I kind of breathed a sigh of relief.
We didn't think we were going to cover it.
Yeah,
All right, well, let's 5 to 10. So let's start doing the takeaways. We talked about a lot. We talked about Job. We talked about Nehemiah. We talked about Revelation. What you going home with?
The revelation of the
And
wilderness.
if you're online, please share your takeaways as well.
The revelation of the wilderness experience was very profound. I like that because it gives you, it re-energizes the faith that's in me to press on and keep going, because I realize that God has me in the wilderness to protect me from the chaos, really. So it's not comfortable, but I know in the end He's got me. I trust Him about it.
Shanice?
When all is said and done, I ultimately do not know what God is doing. And therefore I can't make assumptions about Him and what He's doing based solely on His character. Because what I'm going through, what you're going through, what someone else is going through, might not have anything to do with God's character as it is about my obedience to Him no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Maturity. One of the things, I'm going to skip you and leave you for last, because we go in this way. Normally I wait. It was something you brought out, that came out of your bringing out the story of Job, is that when the second time Job is attacked by Satan, I thought of it only as his physical illness being the attack. But it was the physical illness plus the wife plus the friends.
Mm-hmm.
They were all part of the attack. All of them were
Yeah.
meant to get him to stop maintaining his integrity, stop being faithful, and so I need to be I need to be a little bit more mindful of the totality of the experience, because I think about Jesus as he's being beaten, but he's not just being beaten. The people are taunting him.
Yeah.
And then he gets up on the cross, and there's this fool on the side who's taunting him even more. So like if this is not enough, you send this idiot to discourage me even more. I can't get rid of him. I can't escape him. I have to listen to him and everybody else to get me to give in.
And the geniuses too.
But God also put another guy next to him who reminded him of why he was doing it and provided encouragement even in that moment. So just as quickly as the enemy might be using the people and the circumstances around me to do it, if I attentive enough, I can see God in there also providing a way to help me stay faithful. So that's my takeaway.
That's good stuff.
Shawnee's actually inspired my takeaway. That's crazy. Kendrick, sorry.
Because an alliance, right?
I gotta be a little more patient with my supporting characters in my life. They mean well, but I'm the first one to kick them off the island. Yo, y'all gotta go. Job was there for a while.
Amen.
Y'all gotta go.
Amen.
And so,
Amen.
wife, you gotta go. You first.
Amen.
Take Bill haven't you too. Like, and so while they weren't aware, no one's aware of the role they're playing. They meant well.
Yes.
And there's a level of patience that you have to give to those who, when you were good, y'all were laughing and being okay. Now that I'm back, I don't mean you harm. I just don't know any better.
Yes.
Or I have a different perspective, like Peter. He had in mind the concerns of man and not the concerns of God, which is like these friends. They had in concern the mind the concerns of man. So yes.
And I have to just be like more not concerned with, Lord, this sucks. But yo, Shawnee's put her clothes on and came all the way over here. I don't really like her too tough, but I guess I'll ask her to go give me some water since she won't sit here. I can't get rid of her. Versus the doorbell ringing, I'm like, I'm not home. Like, I'm not gonna answer. So that was just the lesson for me. The supporting characters. While I found myself seeing where I still don't know where the wife comes from, but I can see where the other ones are coming from, and Shawnee's saying just a little more patient. They may just be as unaware of the harm that they're doing. Because yesterday they was cool with you. And they've never shown you that they've meant you harm before.
Yes.
So.
That's what's up. That's big for you.
I'm still on my peninsula. I'm not on the
knowing where you're coming from.
Right. Yeah.
Lorraine is agreeing with you. She said that stood out to her too. Now, Lorraine, I see that you put book number, but I didn't actually see the second book. So I don't know if I missed it, if it just didn't show up in the notes, if you forgot to hit enter or send. So we're gonna go ahead and pray. Even though you said overall just press on, but I feel like I missed what you said because you followed up by saying hope what I said makes sense. I didn't see you say anything, so if you could, resend it or clarify what I'm missing, that'll be helpful. So we're gonna pray, and hopefully between then, you and anybody else who's watching who has takeaways, they will share them while we pray. All right. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for your word that is sharp and quick, like a two-edged sword. It cuts to the joints, revealing the intentions of the heart. And I thank you for showing us a little bit about ourselves tonight, showing us the ways that we need to be a little bit more like you, but doing it in a loving and encouraging way that encourages us to stay and to persevere to being victorious. As we close out this year of study, We want to thank you for the way you've led us thus far and look forward with anticipation to the way you're going to continue to lead as we mature and develop your character and encourage others to get to know you so that they can grow, mature, and experience this joy, this delight that comes from being in communion with you. Be with everyone who tuned in, even however briefly today. May what was heard be an inspiration that tickles their minds to say, let me see how much more I can create space to be with the Lord. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So Lorraine, I didn't see, maybe you're still typing your book. So I'm going to close out by saying this is our last episode for 2017. I know it's like the 17th, but we won't be back until January. Just that's how the schedule works. So we would have completed the Bible for those of us who were with us before August when the season started. We would have completed the entire Bible this year again. This will be what, time number 3? Number 4. Yeah, time number 4. So I'm looking forward to hearing the changes that happen in 2018 based on having seen this whole perspective another time. We encourage those of you who haven't participated with us and are just tuning in to join us in hearing the whole picture from God together. This is nothing like reading the Bible and sharing the experience with others. Alright, there we go, Lauren. Takeaway, persevere. God wills, judgment, what he allows, all of it is good. His thoughts are not like ours. His wisdom is unmatched. His perspective is infinite. So we live out our short temporary time here. This is a book. So as we live out our short temporary time here, he is making eternal decisions for our eternal benefit. He sees the frustration, etc., but he truly knows if you could see the end he has in mind, you would complain less and thank him more. So he continues to purify us. Part 2. It is like you reserve a room at a hotel in your plans for this life. You get to the hotel and they tell you that your room is taken. Plans have changed. You get upset, start complaining about your time wasted, money spent, dream messed up, whatever your temporary investment is. You are thinking of walking out and going somewhere else, but you decide to persevere. You wanted to talk, pray to the manager in charge, God. The manager comes in and says, "Oh, did I not tell the clerk that I made some changes and I was not able to contact you ahead of time? I upgraded you to the penthouse, eternity with him."
Wow.
Simply because it was available and I have the power to do this. So had you not persevered and gave up, you would have missed out your blessing up high.
Wow.
Good takeaway, Lorraine. Definitely worth the wait. Thank you for joining in and contributing to our conversation. So we'll see you guys in January. If you don't already have a copy of the reading plan, download it from the App Store or get the PDF from the website, waterforthethirsty.com. And if you'd like hard copies like Shonice and myself, shoot an email to info@waterforthethirsty.com and we shoot one to you free of charge. We'll even pay for the shipping. So just hit us up, we make sure you have it. We don't want you to have any excuses not to be in the Word, and so we're trying to eliminate the barriers to this forum. Alright, until the next time, thank you guys, and drink up.
Drink up.
Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink.
This is Water for the Thirsty.
Water for the thirsty.
Water for the thirsty.
Water for the thirsty. Drink up.
Drink up. Hashtag Instagram, Facebook. We all there. Follow us. Tweet us. I have a mic on right now.
It's been a hard weekend. It left me high and dry. I've been going through the ringer. I need you in my life. Time seems crazy. I'm stranded in the desert. This life gets so hot. I need a sip of you.